Howdy, everybody. Let me make myself straight here. Welcome to our weekly little segment we like to call Shark Bite. Let me get my girl go. Let's get my girl Heather on. Love it. Let's get my girl Christy on. Hello. There she is.
Hi.
And we'll grab Christy and we'll get started. Hey, everybody. I love it. Oh, look at that. Sassiness.
Hello.
Hello.
Am I the sass? I think Heather's the sassy, which is why I avoided the hello. Oh.
No, it was your lips.
Oh, my lips. Welcome. They've entered the
whole
conversation.
thing, really.
They've entered the conversation.
The lips have entered the conversation. And right after this, I am going to my kiddo's school to work the Boston butts. Yes, I thought. Yes.
Okay.
So,
what is it? I have some thoughts.
A hunk of burning love in the form of some meat, a big hunk of meat. And the upper school sells Boston butts to raise money for their aesthetics trip when they go their junior or senior year to Italy and Greece. So, Mama's going to go work the Boston butt table.
I can think of so many quippy things to say in this moment.
I
None
have
of
a
which
lot.
crack me up. I'm just saying.
So, that's what I'm repping today, and that had nothing to do with nothing, except for now everybody's on, so that's good.
That's good.
So
I was going to say
Heather, oh yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say your hat is tea time.
It is tea time.
Tee us up, Heather.
It's talk time. Heather, you said at the end of our last Shark Bite, which, by the way, if you have not watched all the Shark Bites, go back and watch them. But you said at the last one that you decided you were going to be grateful. I think this is our last grateful live. Not that we're not grateful anymore, but our last official grateful. And you said you wanted to talk mentorship, mentors.
Yeah. Well, I know that especially millennials and Gen Z, just really studying the younger generations, and just I know that they are seeking mentors. I know that that generation and those generations coming up really want guidance and inspiration versus rules and managers. And I think when that whole conversation of grateful, I'm like, I'm just so grateful that I get to live in a world of being guided and inspired versus rules and mandates. And it just really overcame me with gratitude of me being able to choose this business, which in turn chose a life of freedom that I get to be inspired and guided, that I also get to do it for others. Because it's all about like, what's it for you? And then how are you sharing it? What are you learning? How are you sharing? Like just that constant conversation. And it just fills me with gratitude. And I'm so glad this is our last week of being gratitude, because it's exhausting to be grateful for everything. I mean, can we go to like what irritates us in December? Irritation December.
I was going to say the whole gratitude thing was Christy's idea. Obviously, we know whose idea that was. It wasn't ours. We've done all right. We've done okay so far. What an interesting way of expressing the difference between the desire to have a mentor or a coach or like someone that has paved the path as opposed to a boss or a manager. Hallelujah for that. We do a live with our teams right before we hop on here. If you have them pulled up, you had some really interesting statistics too. Do you still have those available? I'm calling you out on that.
I closed the browser, but I can find it in a second. Give me two shakes of a lamb's tail.
Okay. Because I thought, this really, I think, puts an emphasis on what women are looking for and why. And so if you have those, I think that'd be a really good kind of layer to this conversation. Or Christy, if you want to say anything while Heather's grabbing that.
I think one of the things that just most specifically from our conversation that we just had, sorry you guys weren't privy to it, but essentially,
join our teams.
That's right.
And then you can be every
Right.
Wednesday for 30 minutes.
For our lunch and learn, our wow moment. I don't know what that is. Anyway, I think all I was going to say is we were having a conversation about what mentorship means or feels like to all of us. And which Fluffy is that? I love Fluffies.
And Pippa's the
Pippa's Fluffy. Pippa's Fluffy. Anyway, that's all to say that I think everybody on the call, I don't want to speak for everybody, was like, I value the relationship that's forged and formed from that, but nobody wants to be pushed. Which says to me exactly what Heather was trying to say, is that like we all want to move from point A to point B in a really, really congruent way with a partner, with somebody that we trust. And yet we don't want to be pulled and we don't want to be pushed. And so, which says you need a really graceful partner in your life that is going to be able to speak truth, and not just truth, as in you need to hear something, as in it's, I honestly know the path and I can get you there too. And so I think that that's the beauty of the numbers that Heather's about to show us this too.
Well, it's a great theory, except I can't find those numbers. And so I'm like, what did I Google? Yeah.
Well, I'm going to make them up. I'm going to make them up. It was something like, frankly. But it was something like 60% of people want a mentor and 30% of people have one. Mm-hmm. So there's a big gap. Also, the majority of women want a female mentor, which I found fascinating.
And men typically want a male mentor. So same-sex mentors were very influential. And then it was like 40% have a higher satisfaction in their job and stay longer if they have a mentor. So something like that.
See, who needed actual statistics? It's all made up anyways. Someday I said I would love to be like one of those tour guides, you know, on the big shuttle buses, and just make it up as I go. Like, see that house over there? So-and-so lived there. I mean, who knows, right? So, but I think we get the idea, right, Christy?
Yeah. 70% of what you're seeing, woods.
Yeah. So one of the other things that we talked about, I think there's kind of 4 elements to having mentors, and you guys, you can join in on the conversation. It's not just the 3 of us, but the first kind of mentor that you have is someone from afar, right? So there's someone maybe that you follow on social media, you listen to their podcast, you read their book. And that, to me, I have a lot of mentors in that area. And because of that, I have a lot of diverse mentors. So I might have someone in the, space of diet and nutrition. I might have somebody spiritually who's a mentor, somebody who's a mentor in, different parts of the business aspect, etc. Prayerfully, we're maybe starting to be one of those for you. We'd love that. The second kind of mentor that you might have is someone who is above you in your business. So for us, it would be someone that is either your recruiter or your director or your national director. And so they are really tied to you in your actual business. They can speak business to you. They can hold you accountable in your business. The third kind of mentor would be somebody that you actually pay for. So we might consider that a business coach, or somebody that you are like, you know what, at the end of the day, I got to have somebody who's going to hold my feet to the fire and I got to pay for it, And then the fourth thing we talked about that we're really extending this, hopefully, challenge to everybody is for you to act as a mentor. And sometimes we think that you have to have the degree or the position or, the experience. But the reality is, if you know one thing more than the person in front of you, then you can. Or if my pastor's wife texted me today and she's like, what would you tell people about my story? Like, that she's been sharing. And I said, gosh, this is what I feel when I hear your story. This is what it makes me do. Well, guess what? That's mentoring too. Everybody has a story. Everybody has something that they've been through that they can say, here's how I made it through. And so don't discount the fact that you can be that for somebody else. So those were just a couple of things that we talked about, but take it some more and run with it, Heather. I know this is something that's been significant in your growth in your business. And I said, gosh, this is what I feel when I hear your story. This is what it makes me do. Well, guess what? That's mentoring too. Everybody has a story. Everybody has something that they've been through that they can say, here's how I made it through. And so don't discount the fact that you can be that for somebody else. So those were just a couple of things that we talked about, but take it some more and run with it, Heather. I know this is something that's been significant in your growth in your business. Your growth in your business.
Yeah, I think, and I don't know, well, I could probably guess as to why mentorship has been very important to me is because I've always had to seek out places to be grown and to be developed and to get wise counsel. Those weren't things that were just naturally given to me growing up. And so I think that's probably why this does touch on me pretty significantly, is because if I didn't have outside people pouring in, and I put myself in a position to find them, because in social work, which is where I was before, I mean, was I getting mentored? I don't think so. There was that was not a thing. So I wasn't going to get it there. So I had to put myself in a position to get mentored and to get inspired and guided and through things. But I think I'm just really, that's where the gratefulness really comes into play for me, is that I didn't have it, but I had enough wherewithal to know I needed it. Because there's a lot of people that don't have it right now. And like, I want you to know that you need it. I want you to know that it's there for the taking, and it's there freely given in so many different areas. And I love, Callie, that you're like, well, there's spiritual, and there's time management, and there's health in your body and health in your mind. And there's so many different ways. And I would caution you not to put pressure on one person to meet all those needs for you, because that's very unrealistic. And the number one cause of divorce is unmet expectations, and that just trickles onto everything else. Like, don't set yourself up for you guys to fail together. Is find lots of different mentors. And I think that's why direct selling is really cool. I'm so grateful. I'm honestly, next week, I'm mad and irritated about something. We're going to rant next week. But today I'm having all the feels of the grateful. And I'm just so grateful that I chose direct selling as my business model, because we're set up to be mentored freely and openly. And in Mary Kay specifically, we've all been at the bottom, at the starting point. And so our mentorship is so rich. It's so authentic. It's so real, because we've all had to do it. We weren't just like, here, you're real cute, you be at the top. Here, you can buy into that. That's not the way it worked. And I think that is what is so exciting about our mentorship. It's that, I mean, we've all had to do the dirty work and the nitty gritty, and we get to take people with us. So I'm all in my feels. I just love it.
I think I remember the other statistic-ish. It was something about the number one reason that people agree to be a mentor is because they were asked, or something like that. Do you remember? It was something along those lines. Like, the reason that somebody will say yes to mentoring you is because you asked them. I don't know. Something along those lines, right?
Yeah. The privilege of being asked.
Yeah, agreed. The privilege of being asked, and the privilege of actually asking. There's a great art and power in that moment too, because you're forced to ask, you're forced to give voice to, what is it that I'm seeking? And when you give voice to what is it that you're seeking, then when the student is ready, the teacher appears, right? And so we have all of these, like Callie gave us such a good rundown of why mentors, but you have mentors even more specifically that help you at your own specific craft. But then I also think that you also have mentors that help you get to know you. And so I think one of the greatest gifts that I'm super grateful for is that a mentor can offer you perspective and permission. And sometimes when you have lots of mentors in your head, which we've all had the privilege of having, and I'm not dismissing one iota, it's that you can confuse your own voice. And so you sometimes do need a different perspective because your voices in your head get loud, but also you just need permission to be yourself. And sometimes it takes a voice outside of you to remind you of the power within you. And if you can find a mentor to remind you of the power within you, to give you a new perspective about expansion, you found the right person. And that's why you seek one, is because you're on a path of expansion. And sometimes it feels like you're on a path of constriction. And when you're on the path of that, then you just want something to open back up the floodgates for you and give you permission to be yourself when you lack the courage to try, and give you a perspective to go for it when you lack the wisdom to know the next step. So I think that's the greatest gift, and that's what I'm grateful for, is a new perspective every time, a new permission to dive back into your own internal power, because the world's waiting for you. The world's waiting for you, for sure.
Perfect. And so I would just close and say, if there has been a mentor recently that has meant something to you, and maybe they didn't even know they were a mentor of yours, tell them. Tell them today.
Mm-hmm.
Take a quick second, send them a message, send them a text, send them a DM, and say, hey, I just want to say thank you for mentoring me, whether you knew it or not.
That's so good. And comment below, tag them, and give them a shout out here that you were inspired by what we were talking about and you thought of them.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I think that would be super cool. So we can have this whole stream of gratitude for our mentors in our lives. So tag them here, and we would love to celebrate with you and love on them.
Yes. With our grateful hearts in this season of Thanksgiving, and then we're going to be our real shark selves right after that. On that note. Till next
Mine
time.
are going to have teeth.
Bye, everybody.